Hello, my name is Markus Kiili. I'm a Northern Light photographer from Finland, Äkäslompolo. I will show you how to take Nordic Lights photos. It's quite easy and simple.
Alright, let's start it. Northern Lights photography, or Aurora photography, whatever you would like to call it. I'm thinking that it's mainly about three things. It's a night photography, landscape photography, and most definitely, quite often, cold climate photography. So we go through these things. Sorry. Night photography. I'm thinking that it's a stretching of reality, so that when you take a night photo, it can't look exactly the same what you see with your bare eyes. Normally you need to little brighten it up so that you will get the details into the photo. But be very careful that it to not to bright it too much, because it doesn't look very nice when it's like a daytime photo. So you still need to get that feeling of night in a night photo, but get enough brightness there to get the details in a photo. Then there is Holy Trinity: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It's really important that you understand these terms of in a night photography, because you deal with these all the time, and you need to change these settings all the time when you take the Nordic Lights photos or any other night photos. Then the Holy Trinity. First, the aperture. Aperture means how big is the hole in your objective where the light goes into your camera. The wider the aperture is, the bigger is the hole in for the light go into your camera, and more light goes into your camera. If your aperture is very narrow, then there goes only little amount of light into your camera, and it means that if your aperture is very narrow, you will get very dark images unless your shutter speed or exposure time is very long, or ISO is very high. Of course, you think that when you take the night photos and Nordic Light photos, your aperture should be as wide as possible. But there is one thing which you need to remember: is a depth of field. It means that when you if your aperture is very wide, the depth of field is very narrow. It means that if you focus to somewhere, the area where the photo is in focus is very short. But if your aperture is narrow, your photo is sharp from in focus from here to eternity. And this is important because in Aurora photo the stars should be very sharp. So stars should be always in focus, unless if they are not in focus, they look like big snowballs on the sky, and the photos does not look very good. And if you have something near you in a photo, on the front area of the photo, and your aperture is very wide and you are focused to the stars, that thing, person or tree or house will be blurry. But if you narrow a little bit your aperture, then you will get also that thing on the front to be in focus. Then another thing is shutter speed or exposure time. It means that how long time the light goes into your camera. And when you take the Nordic Light photos, it's normally seconds. And if you have a 5-second exposure time, and then you have a 10-second exposure time, then you get a double amount of light into your camera. Quite often when you take the Nordic Lights photos, I use something between 4 seconds to 20 seconds, depending about the aperture and ISO sensitivity. ISO sensitivity means that how sensitive your camera sensor can be to the light. And of course you want to get a really sensitive, for light sensitive camera, but you need to remember. Okay, let's start again that thing. ISO sensitivity. ISO sensitivity means that how sensitive your camera is to the light, your camera sensor is to the light, and you can select it from the normally from 100, 200, 400. Average camera use the maximum is around 6,400, 12,800. But the problem is that if you put the highest ISO sensitivity setting in your camera, then you normally will get a lot of noise into your photo, small dots which doesn't belong to there. So you need to deal with need of light and how big ISO sensitivity you can use. Quite often, I would say that if your maximum for your camera is 6,400, then you can easily use 2,000 or 3,200. So average a half of the what is the maximum. Okay. Landscape photography. Don't take just auroras to the photo. They are boring. It's the same thing. I think that Nordic light photo, good Nordic light photo is always a good landscape photo. Or at least almost always. It means that when I take a Nordic light photo, it should be a good landscape photo even without Nordic lights. Nordic lights are like clouds. Clouds look very beautiful in a landscape photo, but if you take a photos just about the clouds, if you take 1,000 photos of clouds, they look exactly the same. It's the same thing with the Nordic lights. If there is only Nordic lights in your photo, they start to be after a while quite boring. So you should include something else also to your photo, and put something to the front. It anchor you the viewer of the picture to that place. If there is a tree or if there is a boat or something, then the viewer get the feeling that I'm standing over here and looking this view, and then there is middle field there. In a photo there could be a lake or forest or something, and then there is the back, and on the back there is those huge Nordic lights. So you should with something at the front you get a feeling of perspective to the photo, and there should be always a thing, some kind of idea how to why you have taken this photo. I think that it's not enough that you take the photo. Oh, there is Aurora, so I will take the photo. There should be something else also in the photo, some kind of thing, some kind of idea. Photographing in cold temperatures. There is mainly two things in photographing in cold temperatures. The first thing is that the battery life goes down. So if you take Nordic light photos, for example, I was shooting on -37 Celsius. One of my cameras, Sony A7S battery, managing on that weather 10 minutes on a time, and then it was dead, and then I had to change the battery because of the coldness. So that more than the 90% of the capacity is not in use if you are shooting in a very cold temperatures. But a good hint to the cold temperature is that use multiple batteries. So if you have one battery in a camera and one battery in your clothes, so that keep it warm. And when its camera battery is dead, you just switch the batteries and put that cold battery to your glove, and it will warm up and it will recharge again. So I've been shooting a few hours with two batteries, so just keeping the other one in warm. They sell those heat toe and hand heaters in a sport shops, and you can go and buy one or two and put that heater to your pocket and with a battery, so that the battery will keep warm there. Or you can even tape those heaters onto your camera, and then you don't need to switch the battery so often. But then the more important thing is the frozen camera. If you are shooting in a minus temperatures, it's a minus 20 or something like that, your camera will be also minus 20. If you read the camera manual, they promise that it will not work in that kind of temperatures, but it will. But the problem is that when you get the camera inside, because when you bring the camera inside, it's still minus 20, and there is always moisture in room air, water in the air, which flows into your camera, onto your camera, and inside your camera. And when it melts down, then you have water in your camera, and it's gone digital camera. So when I'm taking Nordic Light photos and I'm coming home on night, I leave my camera to the back for several hours. Normally, I take the memory cards and batteries out at the outside and then put the cameras to the back, because of course I want to check the photos immediately. If you are in hurry, you can put your camera to the plastic bag, like a mini grip bag, which you can close, and then the camera temperature will reach the room temperature in a half an hour, and then you can use it also the inside. But don't bring the camera from the freezing temperature just to the inside, because you can break your camera. Okay, then photographing. When you're taking Nordic Light photos, you really need a tripod, because the camera you are using a few second exposure times, then you can't hold your camera still. So buy a tripod. Then turn your camera to the M mode, manual mode, because you want to do all the settings by yourself. And then you have you have ISO settings on your camera. So we don't use auto ISO. You want to select ISO by yourself. Then you put the settings. Yeah. Then you focus, and then use a timer or remote control. The reason is that, for example, if you take a 4-second exposure time and you push the camera button, you very rarely have a so solid tripod that your camera won't move at all. And if it's moving like a 1 second of the 4-second photo, there is quite much of unsharp areas in your photo. If you use a 2-second timer, either your camera will get still and you will get a sharp image. If you use remote control, use a remote control with a wire. Those remote control which working on air, the problem is that they will not work after 10 minutes in a freezing temperatures, because their battery will go dead. So I normally use a timer, because there isn't very rarely so hurry when you take the Nordic Light photos that you can't wait 2 seconds there. But if you have a remote control with a wire, you can use it. Okay, shooting manual. Normally I use aperture from 2.8 to 4.5, and the most common is 4, because I really want to get some depth of field. With 2.8 I normally lose some sharpness from the front area, so I like to use 4 most commonly. Okay, then the shutter time, shutter speed, exposure time, from 4 seconds to 25 seconds, depending about darkness and what kind of Nordic light there is on, or if I would like to take, for example, some Milky Way photos. Alright, ISOs, you should use at least 800. If your camera can do more, then use more. My average is from 3,200 to 6,400, and then I have a camera which I use normally 12,800. But at least use 800, because if you have a lower ISO, then the exposure time will be so terribly long that everything because Nordic lights, they are moving, and if your exposure time is 30 seconds, then there is mostly totally green sky and nothing else in your photo. Focusing. There is at least two ways. The other easier way, which doesn't work with every camera, but with the better ones it does, is autofocus to the distant light. Or then you can do the manual focus with a live view and zoom it to the 10 times, and then it's quite easy to do the sharp manual focus. And if you move the camera a lot, then focus again. Because if you are shooting in one place, then you don't need to do the focusing. You need to do focusing only one time. Okay, then autofocus. So you focus to the distant light, just like in a normal daytime photo. You pulse halfway to the button, or if you have a different button for focusing, you focus to the moon or street light or to the star. And if you have a friend with a mobile phone, he can walk or 10 meters, 20 meters from you and show the mobile phone. You can focus to there. Then it's sharp to the eternity on a wide-angle lens. When you have done the focusing, then you turn your manual focus. Turn your camera to the manual focus from the objective or from the camera and leave it. So don't touch the focusing anymore. And if you are alone and there is no light, you can use the flashlight and for example, to a tree 10 meters to 15 meters from you, and you will get a focus from there. Live view focus. So you turn your camera to the live view, and then you set the zoom. It depends what kind of camera you have. At least Canon cameras, they have this 10 times magnification, and it's good to use that one because then you get a smaller area, and if you can see how sharp is your focus. Aim to something, do the focusing, and don't touch it anymore. And always when you have done the focusing, take a test photo. You take a photo and then look at the magnification of the photo and zoom the photo that you can see that it really is sharp. If it's not sharp, then turn the focus ring a little bit and take another photo and check it again. And after a few shots, you will get a really sharp photo, and then leave the focus ring alone and don't touch it anymore. Okay, here is some photos. This one is and settings. This one is from Äkäsmylly, 20 kilometers from Äkäslompolo to the north. It's a place where we have the open water around the year, and that was a reason why I went to this place on March 18 last year. It was a huge Nordic Light storm. You could see these Nordic Lights also in Austria. Here are the settings. There is ISO 3200 40mm lens. Aperture is really quite narrow for a nighttime photo, 4.5. It means the reason was that I want to get these rocks over here to be also in focus, and also the stars. And exposure time was 13 seconds. Mainly because I wanted to get this building to be also bright. In a Lightroom, I have turned the Nordic Light a little bit. They expose a little bit down and more exposure to the building, so it's a little bit afterwork with this photo. Okay, here is a sample of two photos. They have been taken maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes from each other. Here is about the settings. On this one, ISO is 10,000 and exposure time is 1.3 seconds, is quite fast. And over here is ISO is 6400 and it's 2.5 seconds. It means that if I would take ISO 3200, then I would need a 5 seconds. So that's the idea of how you change those ISO and seconds. And if you have a 1600 ISO, then you should have 10 seconds to get the same exposure than what is in this photo. And here is a sample that you what it means when you have something on front. I took the photo with these kayaks over here on the front, and then I have a middle ground over there, the lake and the lights and the fells over there and those clouds, and then I have a back area where I got those Nordic lights. Here is a sample how the you can take also other things to the photo. Here is a TV group, and there is an actor behind the lightman, and that's the reason why they use the light when they take Nordic Lights video. They actually take a video of the actress, and the Nordic Lights were so bright that they could be seen also in a video behind them. I've been asking that how is possible that I have took a 3-second photo and they still are sharp in the photo. The way is that I took 25 photos and in the one they were still. So that's the way you take photos. You take multiple photos and then there is some which are good ones. When you have an idea, you take try to take as many photos that you can make your idea to come true. Okay, here is a sample of the moving Nordic Lights. It's a 6-second photo. If this would be a 1-second photo, these would be much more sharper. The Nordic Lights, they are moving all the time, and then if you have a longer exposure time, then you will get a wider area for the Nordic Lights. But you can sometimes they are very wide, sometimes they are very narrow. You never can say they didn't look like that because they are always different. But this is one kind of image from the Nordic Lights, which they actually didn't look like exactly like this when I saw them, but in a 6 second they moved so much that they made these shapes. Here is one photo from Särkitunturi. It's fell at Muonio, 40 kilometers from Äkäslompolo. This is from autumn when we have very short night time. The dark time is only a few hours, and Nordic Light they started. This is around 11 p.m. so that it was not dark enough to be really dark, but you still could walk there on a fell and without a flashlight and see everything. But the Nordic Lights were so strong that you anyway could see them. So it is about, I guess it's about 1 hour after sunset, around about like that. Okay, here is a sample about the lower ISO. I used ISO 2000 over here because I wanted to get these rocks on the wall to be visible and also the shapes on a roof. Because if you use high ISO, then you will get quite a lot of noise. And if you remove the noise in a Lightroom or Photoshop, it will also remove your details. So if you want to get a lot of details to your photo, then you need a lower ISO. And when I used lower ISO, I had to use longer exposure time. So now here is 8 seconds. Now I was not so interested about these ugly trees on the front, and that's the reason why I used 3.5. So it doesn't matter me that they are a little bit blurry there, a little bit out of focus. Okay, here is a sample of how you prepare to take the Nordic Light photos. We went to the Äkäsmylly again with my friends, and I was the only one who was checking the places where would be nice views, where is a nice landscape, where I put my camera if the Nordic lights appear. Okay, then they appeared. I ran to that place, put my camera to the ground, and managed to take 3 photos, and then they were gone. So sometimes the Nordic lights, they appear for a very short time, and if you have not prepared your settings before and find a nice place where is a good view, you probably will lose the whole photo. Sometimes you can see the Nordic light from the early evening to the next morning, but it depends about the night, and quite often you can see them a shorter period, few minutes at a time, and maybe 15 minutes, but these were less than 5 minutes. This is from other side of the river on other day. I thought that I will go there. It's a clear sky. I will go there to take the Nordic light photos. I didn't see the Nordic lights at all. Then if I can't see Nordic lights, let's take the Milky Way photos. And then I put the settings to the 6425 seconds. F4.5 was the reason because I wanted to get these reflections to be on near field to be also sharp. But when I looked the photo, I noticed, okay, there was a Nordic lights. It's my only Nordic light photo where I haven't seen a Nordic light with my bare eyes, and I have got Nordic lights to the photo. So sometimes if you have a long enough exposure time, then you will get that kind of light to the photo which you can't see with bare eyes. One way to make a feeling to your photo is to make a fire. The electric light doesn't look very good in a Nordic light photo, but I like to use the fire. So it was a very dark night. There was no moon, only a Nordic light. So all the light in this photo on these trees and everywhere is from this fire which we made. So it's a way to make get enough lightning to your night photo to make a real fire there. Here is a toilet on the top of Särkitunturi. These were the Nordic lights which were really sharp lines. It was a 1.6 second. I think that I should have been using something like a 0 point something and much more higher ISO to get them even more sharper. But if this would be a 6 or 10 second photo, it would be like this area would look like quite much like this, but of course a little bit brighter, but there would not be these sharp lines. Okay, thank you for everyone. That was my lecture about Northern Light photography. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully this helps you to take the good Nordic light photos. My name is Markus Kiili. You can visit my webpage at www.markuskiili.com and see more photos, and there is also Northern Light videos. Bye bye.